Epics and thrillers. She's won an Oscar for her performance in The Hours, worked with the finest film directors, including Stanley Kubrick, who famously cast her alongside her then-husband Tom Cruise in the controversial Eyes Wide Shut. Well, when I spoke to her, we began by talking about her latest movie, 9, which is based on a Broadway musical and has a...
Yeah, it's a good cast. I don't know what to say. I mean, people keep saying to me, you know, what's Penelope like? What's Sophia like? What's Daniel like? And then I every time they say it, I realise, wow, we seem to have covered the... It's an international cast, that's for sure.
Guido.
So what persuaded you all to be so keen to do it?
I think it's just, one, they don't make many musicals, and so when you get the chance to do one, it's fun.
Yeah. It's a kind of very traditional, old-fashioned story in a way. You've got the male film director, the auteur, surrounded by this kind of extraordinary swirl of women.
The women in his life, so he has his mama, and
who's Sophia Loren.
Yeah, his muse and his mistress and his wife. I mean, not that all men have these these people in their lives, but this particular director, Italian director, does.
I better not kiss you.
No, don't kiss me, I might bite you.
It makes you want to be Italian.
It does make... Well, it certainly makes... Well, if you're a bloke... Mind you, you say... You've got this scene in the film where you say, I'd like to be a man, actually, and you can see why, in that world, you want to be a man.
Yeah. I think I've added that myself as Nicole sometimes as well. These muses, they fall in love with the man.
Exactly. They fall in love with him.
I'd rather be the man.
What?
I'd rather be the man.
It's not a feminist film, though, is it, exactly? I mean, the women are kind of sex objects all the way through.
Not all of them. I mean, Judi Dench and myself and Sophia, and I mean, I think that it's balanced. But yes, he obviously has his mistress and he has his wife, and that the way that's set up is very traditional in terms of the 60s.
Yeah. But you don't do a dance scene of your own, do you? Which is a bit of a pity.
And as with you know all musicals, we had a couple of dance scenes. Penelope, Marion, and I had one that we shared, and then there was another one that we shared with Daniel, and both of those didn't make it into the film.
They cut them.
What does that say about my dancing?
The swine.
But that's the way, I mean, that happened in Moulin Rouge too. At one point, there's a big tango sequence in Moulin Rouge, and I was doing the tango, and then suddenly, you know, 3 days before we shot it, Baz said, no, I've decided you ought to be upstairs with the Duke, and I'm going to actually have somebody else dance the tango.
There may come a time when a lass needs a lawyer. There may come a time when a hard-boiled employer thinks
You're back in London, where you did Eyes Wide Shut, which was 18 months, I think, in the making. I mean, an astonishing epic.
Yeah, I think it might have even been longer than 18 months. But I loved being here, doing that with Stanley. That, for me, is... You know, you have memories as you get older that become... that you put them in little boxes and you cherish them, and that's one of the ones that I put in a box and I cherish.
Because everybody says, and completely understand with Stanley Kubrick, a genius, and I just wondered, working with him, what made him so special as a director?
And the word genius is just bandied around. I mean, I would like... Specifically, he was a philosopher. He was somebody that was making comments on society and on life and on the human condition. He was also someone that was truly deeply committed to the art of film, which in this day and age can get lost because it's such a business. So he was able to operate in a business world and still stay very much a genuine artist, and I think that's why his voice is missed.
It must have been a very intense experience. You were absolutely at the top of your game. Your then-husband Tom Cruise was. Kubrick was... Well, he died a few weeks after the film was finished. I mean, it must have been a very, very intense time. Did that put a strain on the marriage that eventually ended it, do you think?
Absolutely not. There's things that have been written and they just become fact after a while because they've been written, and because I've never really discussed anything in true detail. You know, and I don't think Tom has. And no, that for us at that time, we were deeply committed in our marriage, and we were just very honoured to be working with somebody that was.
So you look back on it basically as a fun time. I mean, a hugely enjoyable, rich.
Yeah,
time.
stimulating and extraordinary. I mean, when you're working on that sort of material, you're there. Yes, it's fun. As an actor, it's extraordinary to be working,
Yeah.
let alone to be working with someone that is teaching you. And I always talk of Stanley as being, it's like going to film school and being taught by the greatest professor.
That Oscar-winning performance in The Hours, I have to ask you about. Virginia Woolf, very different from a lot of the characters you've played. Did you spend a lot of time working through her kind of diaries and her journals and her writing?
Yeah, I studied. I mean, I read an enormous amount about her and written by her. But I think I was in the hands of Stephen Daldry, who is just exceptional. And he was the one that convinced me I could do it, because when he offered it to me, I remember I'd read the script and I was like, well, I can play the role that Julianne Moore is going to play, and you should switch it. She can play Virginia Woolf. And he was like, no, you can play Virginia Woolf, trust me. And it took him a while to convince me.
And some people, because you had this prosthetic nose, didn't even realise you were in the film.
Well, that is such a wonderful thing to hear as an actor. I'd be so willing to, I'm willing to, put on any prosthetics or do anything to try and create a character, but also at the same time it's working from the inside. And I think for me at that time I was in some wasteland emotionally, and so it was there was things that were available to me that Stephen was able to mine.
You've done theatre famously, very successfully before. Could you see
I don't know
yourself
about
going
that.
back? Well, could you see yourself going back and doing, for instance, musical on stage?
If I had the voice that could sustain the 2 matinees and the 8 shows, I'd be like there. I'd be in heaven. I would have loved to have played Mary Poppins. But I'm just not sure that my voice would be able to sustain it. Maybe one day when my baby's a little bit bigger. I have a 17-month-old baby, and she's like she's my priority. So I just don't think I could bear to be going to her.
When she's a little
I can't talk because of my voice.
When she's a little bit older, come back and do Mary Poppins.
Okay.
Nicole Kidman, thank you very much.
Thank you.